we are. Welcome to the Rabyd Nation. And I am your host, Ed Raby, a former pastor turned atheist, now a compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. And today is the Rabyd Atheist Fireside Chat, where we can sit back and talk about things. And it's a much more open forum than my other two streams. This is kind of designed for anybody who wants to talk to me about anything, and that's fine. I come on this one just because I like to see what people are talking about and what they want to say. You kind of control the discussion and what we discuss, so fire away. And so there's that. Just a couple of reminders. There's a goal in chat. That just helps me pay for the stream and pay for my life and all the rest of it. And I do it in a fun way. If we reach that chat goal, I will wear the hat chosen by the poll for the rest of the stream. So the quicker that happens, the quicker the hat happens. So, and there's this today is like the standard. I only do the Holy Bunny hat on Saturdays. So, that's become my special hat for that broadcast. So thanks everybody for doing that. It's just my unobtrusive way of asking for money for what I do on YouTube. So thank you very much for that. But yeah, let's get a roll call and see who's here tonight. Let's see. We've got Fred. He's usually always here until he has to leave. You have to do the metaphorical fire again today. You're a real unit. They said it was a bad idea. That's probably true. Let's see. Anne Marine, does this mean we get to tell scary stories around the fireside? Yes. Yeah. JW and a Mormon come to your door. That is very scary stuff. So there's okay. Rimmers here. Have my neighbors. Okay, there you go. And Triple E is here. Let's see. Wolf Sinclair Gaming is here. So there's a few of you here, and there's a few more coming in. And we'll come up in time for the stream. There you go. And everybody, yeah, the song is great. Triple E, the mighty Philbert did me good there. I put him in the description and everything because it's like that's going to be my continued theme song for many moons to come. We'll just put it that way. So yes, and the Rabyd Nation, yes. Yeah, I mean, just a lot of things have been happening. Earl, if you were there Saturday, Earl did a bunch of new artwork with Star Wars theme and related to Apologia because of our latest, contact with him. I've had couple good email conversations with Paul, and we'll see what develops. But yeah, it's been a fun couple of weeks, and I've been enjoying myself. I'm enjoying the streaming, so that's good. But fireside chat, here we are. Just kind of grab a chair, snuggle up to the fire, avoid the smoke, unless you're one of those people that just smokes. Yeah, it was hilarious. I'll put it up again here today too. But yeah, it was just it. Earl has outdone herself. She's really she's only been doing. I think my amazement with Earl and her artwork is mostly she's only been doing this for like a year. Like it's only been a year since she started doing artwork. And when you look at some of the stuff she originally sent to me, the beginning, my watermark that's on the video right now, it's that stuff that she did way back at the beginning. And now she's, doing stuff that's much more detailed, and she's drawing a lot of things by hand. She's not using as many of the assets as she used to. So it's like, you can see she's having fun with it. And, she just disappears into this hole of hers, and a whole bunch of, I don't know, a whole bunch of artwork comes out the other side. So it's kind of fun to have one. And I now have here, I'll put one of them up that's very, very recent that just came out. But this is now one of my new favorites of the Unholy Trinity. So I enjoy this one. Absolutely excellent stuff. So Earl is doing double duty as C-3PO and Princess Leia, and I'm Han, and Fangs is taking the role of Chewbacca. So he just has to. He figured this role would allow him. He just has to make noises. He doesn't actually talk. So there you go. Yes, yes. If I'm set on fire, so please don't do that. Okay, there you go. Oh, yes, the rails were never really. That's probably true. So yes, yes, and this is one of my. It's now become one of my favorites. It's I have one that's a little bit more just basic that I like as well. But yeah, yeah, the Fred guy shakes over the chat a lot. You gotta some of you. There you go. Rails. What rails? Yes. But yeah, this is one of her latest. I really love this one. It started to become my favorite. So um, really good stuff. And then of course the one that Earl really started with um, when she got going with this, when Paula G just made an offhand comment about where his artwork was. And of course, Earl took it as a challenge because she always does that. She always takes it a challenge. Paul says he didn't really mean it that way. He didn't feel like she was obligated to do anything. But it's like, it's, it's you have to understand Earl when she gets into this mode. You you have to kind of check on her, do wellness checks over her because she just gets into it and it's just there. And this is actually the first thing that she worked on, and I thought this was brilliant. Um, I'm fairly certain that Gary Habermas would not appreciate this at all, uh, but yes, she said, "Well, let's put him on his very big book," and you know, I saw the video dropped, and I'm definitely going to watch it. But yes, there's like supposedly new proof that David's ancestors. They found David ancestors, and I'm fairly certain that that's probably not true. So there's that. Hey, there are rails. Yeah, I know. Like Robert Price too. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, but this was the first thing she sent me. Actually, a much simpler version of this, but is what she sent me. But this is what got her going. So yes, David's descendants. Yes, yes. It's I don't know. Old Testament isn't really my field, Rimmer, but I'm going to tell you right now that whenever I see something about the Old Testament, I realize that whatever happened is like at least 25 years old, 2,500 years old. Okay. So it's like, it's, yeah. And there were I knew some people were making out this as big news, but it's not really news. It's been a topic for a while now. This is kind of what apologists do. They kind of recycle stuff. And so, like when I look at this picture of Habermas here in Jabba the Hutt form, uh, but also in Alice in Wonderland caterpillar form, sitting on his big books that weigh so much and everything. I kind of look at it this way. They are recycling, Habermas's arguments. When I look at the table of contents of his first book, the arguments for the resurrection, for instance, I've seen all those before. He's just putting them in book form. And then, his objections doesn't look oh, okay, I can see that. I can see it. But yes, so when I don't know, I want to save this particular piece of artwork when any apologist wants to sit on their work and not give me anything new. But apologists recycle these arguments. I am sure that the arguments for the existence of God will come back around in a year or so where they'll be popular again. Um, all the minimal facts stuff will come around again. I know it's going to happen um, because they don't have anything new. And the fact that somebody is pulling out the David's descendants thing again, like we've got proof of David's descendants. It based on that, then we also have proof of Odin's descendants because there's a lot of people like all the sort all the supposed the sons of Ragnar Lothbrok all claimed that Ragnar Lothbrok was also a descendant of Odin. So are they all sons of Odin too? Like, you can make a claim that you are some person's descendant all you want. And if you have this mythological David figure, this legendary David figure, and claim that you're related to them, yes, yeah, it's really evidence and it is. It's like it's circular. They keep coming back to the same stuff, and it's become a problem actually. And yeah, they could try, but what would constitute the DNA of David? You don't even have David. Okay, like it. You can trace. They could probably get these ancestors and do DNA and stuff like that with them, and it might prove a common person at some point was their great grandfather, but it doesn't prove that that's David. Okay, like, is that David? Okay, the thing about David is he's, as a figure, he has very little historical evidence, very little archaeological evidence. Like, I think there's one inscription that this was built by David or something, but is that David the David that's in the Bible? And it certainly doesn't, just because you identify a person, it doesn't prove that everything they did in the Bible they actually did. Okay, like, it doesn't prove that they actually did it there. So yeah, it's not new. Okay, it's not news. It's been out since the 1800s. Like, this has been around. So yeah, we don't have David's DNA. We just don't. And it's not like he's, if we found the remains of David, supposedly, they're not so old that we might not be able to find some DNA evidence. So, and actually, and Rimmer's pointing out, it actually doesn't mention David at all. So there's a whole bunch of stuff when I was studying this, when I was still a believer, that I began to realize how flimsy the evidence is. David's existence is where you might have a historical king named David that everybody loved, and so they made him into this figure, but you don't have a lot of evidence that he historically existed. Doesn't mean he didn't. It's just it's hard to pin down. So when people tell you to rely on the stories in the Bible, you need to realize that pre-David, if David is that shaky, all the characters, like the judges are really shaky. Like, did they really exist or not, or just these stories? When you get, of course, to Joshua and Moses, those guys are probably completely made up. Like, they're just myth. Okay, like, you have Moses as this mythical prophet that's a conglomeration of a lot of other myths and prophets and stuff like that. And then you had the conquest of Canaan by Joshua. You've got people that are unqualified saying that nobody questions that anymore. No, everybody questions it. Even biblical scholars question it if they're going to be honest. Okay, because it just isn't any good evidence for it. The archaeological evidence we have of that time period shows a bunch of tribes rising up in Canaan fighting with each other for supremacy in the area. And based on that, yeah, you can probably get like a divided kingdom, a single kingdom, or a bunch of tribes warring with each other. But yes, it really is, speculative as to whether or not these people even existed. Okay. And so there's that. Yeah, it only mentions people from chronicles that have been known to be historical people. Yes. And so, like, the more recent ones, like Hezekiah, we know was a real king. Okay. So we have many others that we kind of know were real kings of Israel, Judah, etc. But the farther back in time we get, the more mythological it gets. And so it's like, well, thanks. But yeah, I have a lot of this useless knowledge that would win me Bible trivia every week. But yes, you got to realize that one of the things that I discovered as I was studying all this stuff as a believer. I'm like a pastor. I've got all this time. Like my last church was really had a very open doctrinal system, and I was the bishop of the church with all in a congregational church, like whatever spiritually set wanted to go in my church went. I suddenly had the freedom to look up all this stuff and study all this stuff. And when it came to the Old Testament, the farther back in time you go, the more sketchy it becomes. It's like it becomes even more and more sketchy as to whether of his historical reliability. There's just too much growing legend in there. There's too much possibility of just making stuff up, like any mythology. When I look at the book of Judges, there's probably is this time of the judges, because there seems to be like this period in that region's history where there were people of influence that you went to get judgment, but there weren't any real leaders or kings or whatever. And so it's kind of chaotic. But when you look at the judges, it really feels like, Perseus and Hercules and, all these, Ragnar Lothbrok type stuff. Like it's a, maybe a kernel of truth behind the story, but the story has gotten embellished over time. Like it's mythology and moral stories of a people, okay, that get preserved in, the 600 BCEs by a group of writers that, in my opinion, had a purpose for the writing. They were trying to present stuff, that allowed them to go back to their homeland, which they considered to be the Levant area, the Palestine. We know Palestine and Israel today. And so they were definitely trying to make their case to the kings of Babylon and Persia at the time to go home. Okay. And that was their home. And so, yeah. The Ark of Hammurabi is much better documented. We have some original text on that. Yes. Ark of Gilgamesh. Yes. The Ark of Gilgamesh. Yes. Yeah. Jephthah was, okay. Yeah. Jephthah is one of those judges that I really hope wasn't real, but that's just a moral story of how much you have to give up to God. That if you make a vow to God, you have to keep it. But yeah, if there was a man that really did a burnt offering of his daughter, like stripped her naked, cut her into quarters and burned them, in order to appease God and make sure God kept his wrath on his one and only child. Yeah, that's a pretty sick story. So, yes. According to the text, it had become an idol. Like the bronze serpent had become an idol. They began to look at it as its own god, which is understandable. Triple E, like you make a brazen image of anything back then, and sooner or later, it's a god. So, yeah. The thing is about that, remember, the morality of ancient peoples, this was perfectly acceptable. Like if you made a vow to God, burning your one and only daughter to ash after killing her yourself is a perfectly good moral ethic. Like this is why I tell people we need to get beyond the morality of the Bible. It's the morality of the Bible and the Abrahamic religions that keep holding us back, because it keeps us into this late Bronze Age, early Iron Age morality, and I don't think we need it anymore. Remember, I think it's just not really all that good for us. It baffles me too, but I understand that a lot of people think that this is the word of God, and so they've got to hold on to it. But yes, I just don't have I just don't have a lot of love anymore for the Bible's morality. I just don't. It's yeah. Yeah, I mean, Ezekiel does. He yells about that stuff. I mean, if you see, the prophets get even weirder because we don't. If you think the historical evidence for the history of the Old Testament is sketchy, okay, I got news for you about the prophets. They're even more sketchy. Like it's hard to prove that any of these guys actually existed. You know, it's bad enough with like the kings of Israel and Judah proving they existed with historical evidence, but when you look at prophets, they appear on the scene, they say their crap, and they disappear. And it's really hard to say, oh yes, these people existed. It is very difficult. When you take any historical study standard to the Bible loses 99% of the time. Okay, so it's like it's really bad. There is a theory about that Ezekiel was probably written by the Persians themselves, and then the Israelites adapted it. So there's that. Yeah, Maria, I have made that case. Like last year when I did my spooky Halloween series, which I don't know, I may just do one video for Halloween itself. I have the week of Halloween off from work. I decided to take a vacation for it. So um so there's that. It some of these stories, like I was going to last year do um the sacrifice of the daughter as one of the horror stories, like as a macabre story, like an Edgar Allan Poe. But it, I couldn't do it because it was just so horrific for me. Like I have a daughter, okay, she is my one and only daughter. I have two sons too, but I can't even think of touching a hair on her head that way without being recoiled in horror. And if a God demanded that on me, I'd tell the God to F off. Like, no, I don't. To me, that's a superior moral code where you look at your God and say, no, I don't like that one anymore. He needs to go away. And I just don't have that. I just don't have that mentality anymore. And that, like, I could do the zombie apocalypse in Luke. I could do, the witch, and the ghost of Samuel. I can do all that stuff. But that one, Jephthah and his daughter, is just too macabre for me. Like it goes beyond horror. Okay, it's like I can't even think of doing that to another human being, and it just bothers me. So the older I get, the more confused I am. Anytime I hear atheists can't be moral, like how can you be moral with God? The Bible has so many bizarre atrocities in it. Yes, and that's the thing, Blossom. And by the way, good to see you. Yeah, it it you have to be moral to exist as a human being. Every human being has a moral code, whether it's good or bad. We can debate, but we have to get along with other human beings, and morality is about human behavior towards other humans. A lot of moral systems disappear when you put somebody alone on a desert island. Like there's a morality I suppose you can have with yourself, but morality is very utilitarian in the fact that it deals with how we relate to others. Edgar Allan Poe without the literary prowess. That's probably true. Atheists are not better by default. We can be immoral shits. There's nothing stopping that. But the Bible is not a path to morality. Secularism gives you that option. Yes. It gives you the option of saying, let's talk about what is most moral. Biblical authoritarian morality doesn't give you that option. You have to accept the morality of the authority. Okay, that's why, as a libertarian, I tell you, you got to watch what governments do too. Just because they're the authority doesn't mean they have good morals. Okay, so you have to weigh everything by some other moral context. There's still countries in the world that justify slavery. There's still countries in the world that justify misogyny at a high level, like women follow after their husbands and are completely covered from head to toe and aren't allowed a lot of options. I mean, from my perspective, that's not very moral. But yeah, we still have plenty of things in this world. Secularism at least gives you the option to chuck all that and say that's not authority. I'm not going to base my morality on authority or what authority says. We can discuss morality. We can decide what's rationally right. We can weigh things. And that, to me, is a better form of doing morality, where we can at least have a discussion about it. Although these days it's hard to have a discussion about morality because everybody gets into their dogma corner and it gets difficult to talk about it. So First time when I saw non-stabbed collector's video, it's hard to believe how the story is morally especially. Yes, people still justify it because the Bible's the word of God. As you well know, as somebody deconverted, and me as deconverted, and many other people in chat as deconverted, people still justify the story. Okay, like he had to do it because he made his vow to God, and he's the one to blame because he made this rash vow. And it's like, no, God is the one to blame because God could come down and say, hey, man, she's a human being. She has value. She has a life to live, children to have, whatever. God doesn't do that. He accepts the sacrifice. He literally by default accepts it. And that's what you have to make okay. I'm now thinking that this entire discussion is very fitting to have Jabbermass the Hutt up there. And so there you go. Haber the Hutt. So, because we're talking about evidences. Favorite part of it was the staff says you should. Oh wait, yeah, you're confusing your stories. They're skeptically pissed, but it's funny. That's related to Anna. The story of 2 she bears mauling 42 children. Yeah, that's a deplorable one. Just because they said he was bald, like. That's another authoritative one, Anne Marie, where you don't question the authority of the elders. And it's like morality based on authority means that the authority can do shit and be real morally awful, and it's still justified as good because we have to follow the authority. So it's like, yeah, it's might makes right. God can do whatever he wants. It's automatic good. He's the boss. There may be some sarcasm in this comment. Probably. It's you. The Assyrian ancient Mesopotamian cultures in the British Museum. Oh, okay. Yes, but the she-bear story is also one of those historically questionable events. So yes. Yes, the evidences of a lot of the stuff in the Old Testament is almost either non-existent or very faint. And when you come to that conclusion, that's your downfall for your theology. If you're like a conservative fundamentalist type Christian, you can't accept that. You can't accept that the historical evidence is shaky. So, but yes, I don't have a lot of love for that, and people who try to justify. I think so. There's one story, man, I can't recall the details, but there's one story in one of the infancy gospel stories where somebody dies, like another kid dies, and Jesus is very nonchalant and about it. There's one story where Jesus comes off very cruel, but everybody justifies it because it's Jesus. I don't know. There's a lot of things like when you get to the point where even religious figures are like, this is questionable. Okay, then it gets hard. But yes, there's some of the infancy stories, some of the child stories of Jesus that are outside the 4 gospels are very interesting. So Elisha couldn't handle a little teasing from children in the world. Good question. My only problem, I think my biggest problem with Trump is this, and I'm going to say this: he's a spoiled rich kid that was never told no a day in his life, and now he's grown up and he thinks he's right about everything. And as predicted, I do believe Tylenol filed lawsuits against the administration because they're not the only one that used that pain reliever, that medication, but they got targeted. And there's a whole bunch of people came out after that announcement by RFK Jr. basically telling everybody RFK doesn't know what he's talking about. So it's like he doesn't know what he's talking about. So yeah, but yes, I don't know. There's a lot of petty right now in politics in America. So it's one of the reasons I want to emigrate. I want to get out of here. If my family wasn't here, if I was all alone in the United States, I'd be looking for another country at this point. I would be. I don't like it here anymore. So I hope it changes. I hope it does. There's something that's going on in my country, and this is just my opinion. Take it for what it's worth. There are people that are getting fed up with the right so much that they're leaving it. There's other people that are looking at it as the winners and they're joining it. And it seems like it's a zero sum game. But anytime you see one party in power like this massively in the history of the United States, there's usually a massive backlash to it. Like for the next decade, everything's the other way. So, but when you act in, like, I don't even talk to my Facebook friends that are on the right anymore because it's nearly impossible to talk to them. They just get very defensive. And so I don't even bring stuff up anymore. So for being insufferable and he sends serpents at them. Yes, I think that might be the story, Rimmer. That might be the one I'm thinking of too. Yeah. Yeah, it's gotten bad, and I think even the people that support him have gotten like there's literally a guy out there now that is starting a like AA meeting type thing for MAGA people, how to get out of MAGA and get out of the brainwashing of MAGA. And according to him, he's getting people calling and writing him all the time trying to figure out how to get out of this. I don't know. The latest polls don't show Trump doing that well, even among his own base. What other thing did I see? Oh, he got out there and did some economic BS. Like he says, oh, gas prices are down to 240, and it's like the average gas price is 320. So it's like he's not just off; he's 80 cents a gallon off. Okay, like almost a whole dollar. And even the people in Fox News didn't even, I don't think, even printed that story because they like, yeah, he's going to get called on that BS. So I feel like I hate to bring up the Austrian corporal of history, antiquity of the 20th century, but Trump's in this kind of, there's a little bit of a delusional state with him, like everything's going the way he planned. And it's kind of like the last days of World War II where our Austrian corporal friend was leading around imaginary legions, fighting off the Russians and the Allies. So it's like he comes out with stuff like the Tylenol thing. I'm like, where the hell did you get that? There's no research that says that specifically Tylenol's medication causes autism. Where the hell did you get that? They're pulling stuff out of their ass at this point, and everybody knows it. So there's that. But yeah, technically, yeah, probably. Hey, Dave, good to see you, man. Yeah, I mean, Hitler did at least do his military service. That's true. That certain Austrian corporal did do his military service, so there was that. Yeah, I mean, people forget that. I think the MAGA people forget that Trump was a liberal for a long time. Like he was a Democrat. Like he supported the Clintons. Like he was deep in that stuff. Like and people forget that, and I don't. Like I don't think like when Trump does economics, he's not a conservative. He's not a liberal either. He's not like a socialist either. But he's like this. He's trying to wield tariffs like they're his way of controlling the economy. And they do a pretty damn good job. It's not the thing he wants. And I'm working in the world's largest brick and mortar. When team leads come up to me about some of the price changes they're doing on some of they're not going down. Okay, the prices of things are not going down. So I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. For 15 years and actually did have some sort of brainworm. Yeah, there you go. Well, RFK bothers me because as an autistic person, this is not helping. Like it's not. It pisses me off because it's not helping. I don't need to know the cause of autism. I need accommodations. Like I need people to kind of like become better at understanding what autism is and how to deal with it, particularly in the workplace. Like we know the stats. Like, it's harder for autistic people to get hired. It's harder for autistic people to get promoted. They get fired more often, all because of a lot of misunderstandings of what autism is. That's what needs to be done. I already know that it's genetic. Okay. And so when somebody like Kennedy gets out there who has authority and power and just completely does a red herring bullshit thing, it drives me nuts. And this is, you got to understand, that was his big reveal. Remember, way back in May, he said, we're going to know the cause of autism. And his big reveal is Tylenol. And I like, you got to be flipping kidding me. This is just a joke. Okay. I don't know what's wrong with him, but it's like he follows every conspiracy whack job theory there is. And it's like, it's just like that. So there you go. Yeah, I'm fairly certain the World Health Organization would do that, and rightly so. Okay, rightly so. Um, because there's, once again, we have Haber the Hutt there, or Jabbermoss, up there with his evidences. There is no evidences for this. Okay, there just isn't. I just don't. I'm sorry. I just don't. I don't see it. I don't need this as an autistic person right now. I just don't. Okay, I don't need the anti-vax. I don't need to be blamed as an autistic person for why people aren't taking their vaccinations. I don't want that. Okay, like, I don't want my kids to become autistic, so I'm not going to have them take Tylenol or get their vaccinations. Like, no, don't blame me for that. I'm not part of that. Nope. What I need is a better understanding from the public. What I need is the public to be educated about what autism actually is, and how to deal with it, particularly in workplaces and schools and stuff like that. We need a better understanding of that. There's a small percentage of our population that has always been there that doesn't look at the world the same way that most of you do. Okay, and you need to understand that better so that you don't make assumptions about me. I think the biggest thing I hate at work is people assume what I'm feeling and thinking, and they don't have a fucking clue. Okay. And it creates a lot of misunderstanding sometimes. I don't want to picture that either. I'm not a psychologist. Having said that, RFG is just another ignorant, arrogant, damaged child. Sue me. Okay, there you go. May not cause harm, but is not healthy all the same. Yes, and that's the point. Like, when they bring up stuff like this may affect people it affects everybody. Okay, like, there are some substances that affect everybody's nervous systems, and so yes, it makes autistic symptoms worse because it makes everything worse. It's like there's some things that just would not pass clinical trials anymore because the trials have gotten more severe. It's in the sense that they're more rigorous, and I don't have a problem with talking about that. I have a large problem with wanting to blame some chemical or something for something that we know has a lot of genetic roots. So this Triple E, you nailed it. I don't want it to be a political topic. It shouldn't be a political topic. Okay, what it should be is, okay, yeah, we got this group of people that are autistic. No amount of knowing what causes it is going to change that. There's never going to be a cure for it. Okay, like, I know there's a lot of parents that say, "Oh, I want my autistic kid to be cured," and I'm like, I don't want a cure. Okay, I don't think that it would. I just don't feel like this is the issue. I don't want that at all. Okay, I don't want that at all. I want it to be depoliticized, and let's get real about it. Okay, but everybody's using it for political hay because you got people that, like, there's a good chunk of people in the world affected by autism. Okay, either you have it or you know somebody that does. Okay, or pretty close to that. And I don't understand why we can't figure out, like, this is genetic, and it's just part of what it means to be human. Okay, there's a certain number of humans that are this way, and there might be other things. Okay, my therapist said it, all of us may have some autistic traits. Okay, it's just part of the gene pool. And the problem for some of us is a lot of those genes get together and create a person who's autistic, so and that's what it scares me a little. You're right. It absolutely terrifies me that they politicize this issue, because what really should be happening now with health and human services is, okay, we know what this is, we know what causes this. What are we going to do about it now, and what are we going to do about it in the future? What can we do to make the autistic person's life easier in a world full of normies? Okay, it's like, how do we, without upsetting the normies, but also, I don't want to do that. No, I don't know. It really is. So some people life threatening. Yes, that's kind of why it wouldn't make it. Like, it's very threatening to the liver. But science lives and learns about these things. I'm not sure religion does. So, but I'm tired of the politicizing of autism too. But it's inevitable, I suppose. Hillary is too old for Donnie, even in the 70s. That's probably true. I'm trying to think, but yes, yeah. Oh man. And quietly, the Epstein estate has been releasing stuff. So certain people have been implicated already, including Elon. So it's going to get very, very interesting, folks. Just American politics. Just grab your popcorn. Grab your popcorn and watch. Oh my goodness. But yes. So we have our evidences. All right. Let's see. What's the other one that Earl? Yes, I have another one. Let's see. We did. See, then we have Paul up here doing his thing. Paul actually loved this one a lot. I sent him 3 of the pictures we did, and he wrote me back today and said he loves these. He thinks these are awesome. So, so you want Tylenol rapid release Epstein files? Yeah, it's like they keep throwing news at us to get away from the fact, like, that something that our current president ran on, like, we're going to release the Epstein files and let everybody know. And now he's like, oh, it's all a hoax. And I'm dead certain that he's in that list now. He's in those files. Okay, because we can't get away with one simple fact. Epstein and Trump are good friends, and they live next to each other. And and if you think that Trump didn't know, I have some land to sell you in Florida. So, but the differing compassion and comprehension instead of fear and anger. Yes. That's what I get tired of, the distrust. Like, I don't show emotion very well, and so people just don't trust me. It's like, and I have to fight for that trust all the time. It's okay. I don't trust them either, but it's fair. But yeah, Elon's dad is surprise shock, Katie. Yeah. Yeah, there's a few other congressmen, people that have come out. Like, it's the estate is something that, the Epstein estate is something that Trump can't really control what they release. So we're only like one representative signature away from getting them released. So it's like, and it's really baffling to me. Like, why don't you want those released? Okay, why are there so many of you against their release? Yeah, like, it seems like if it exonerates everybody involved that's been implicated, you would want to release it. Apparently, there's something convicting about them. So I'm always bullshit. So yeah, I don't know. See, the problem with this, Katie, is there's a lot of players in this story, and I'm sorry, I can't fathom a world where Trump didn't know. Like, he knew what his friend Epstein was up to. I just don't see that being possible. They were too close. They were friends all the time. He's like trying to distance himself from the guy. But when you look at what the press recorded at the time, they were good friends. So there's that. So maybe, probably. Yeah, you got to wonder. Like, The rich and powerful always think they're above the law in some way, shape, or form. And this group of people surrounding Epstein definitely consider themselves above the law. So, and unfortunately, a lot of them are not going to get justice. It's just unfortunate. So, all right. Let's see. What's the other one? I wanted to share all of Earl's stuff that's recent. I haven't seen Earl. She might be busy. I agree with you. I also think like what he did at the Miss America pageant. I don't care if you do own the pageant; it doesn't give you the right to do what he did. And the fact that he did it and it's a matter of public record and people still voted for him just amazes me. Like good, moral, upstanding Christians voted for a guy that had to get an ogle at the Miss America contestants in their nudity, and we still voted for that guy. It amazes me. That's just a matter of public record. So yeah, it's nuts. There's this whole story there, Triple E, that's going to be book fodder for the next 20 years. So buckle up. Just buckle up. And I don't know, I get entertained by politics. Otherwise, I'd cry. I would absolutely cry about it. The stuff that we accept now just boggles my mind. Yeah, he had a lot of underage. Yeah, why do you got underage girls at your spa, bro? I mean, we know that too. That was kind of one. It's agreed. It's never fair. I don't think any justice system has ever been fair. Um, there have been some moments, Richard, where we've been very idealistic about certain justice systems, and for a while they kind of worked, but slowly but surely people figure out how to gin the system. When you look at like game theory and a few other theories about human behavior, sooner or later human beings try to figure out how to screw with the system. And it doesn't matter what system you create. Like it doesn't matter. There's always going to be somebody that plays games with it and figures out how to work it. Like it's like any game you play, sooner or later somebody with that mindset will find a way to cheat. And the justice system is the same. We try to get as much out of it as we can. It is what we have, unfortunately. And you got to work with what you have, not necessarily what you want. So, but yes, I agree with that. I don't think any justice system has ever been fair. So it's never fair for the poor. Exploitation is a big thing, Richard. It always has been. I mean, if you look at feudal systems, they exploited the poor. Every system has exploited the poor. Like always. You still see it even in quote unquote equal systems. There's still an exploitation because people, like I said, there's always going to be somebody that figures out how to get more power, more influence than everybody else. It happens, and it's unfortunate. So I don't know if there's a way to fix it. I do know this, that I feel like one of the things that keeps that exploitation in the front of everybody's mind as a good thing is religion. Yeah, there just is. Religion just constantly maintains this authority above, what's morally right, and we're not able to have a discussion on morality because somebody says this is what is moral. And so, yes, I'm all for, you will never have a system of economics or stuff that's fair, okay? Because there's always people that play games, okay? I'm a secularist, but I don't buy the notion that human beings are all good, okay? Like it's much more complicated than that, and there's always going to be somebody with charisma or whatever that's going to find a way to take advantage of people's gullibility. And there's nothing more gullible than religion. Like it's obvious to anybody who gets out of it, like myself and many others in the chat who've deconverted. When you get out of that, you realize how naive people are and how easy it is to trick them. So I mean, look at religion. It 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 preys on the poor. Give your money to God, and God will bless you. So it's like, yeah, go for it. No, but yes, I hear you, Richard. I absolutely do. Um, it's it's really a hard thing to deal with when you become a realist like myself. It's like there's things I can do and there's things I have no power over. And I try to just be a kind person in a world where kindness and empathy are not exactly extolled. So, and unfortunately, there's only so much one person can do, or even groups of people can do. So, yeah, it's, oh, talking about oxymorons, but yes, yeah, I, I don't know, good, moral, and standing Christians. Um, it's not, here's the thing. There's a lot of good moral people that also happen to be Christians. Okay, they deal with they deal with um, the fact that there's good people that do a lot of good things, but they just happen to be Christians. Like I have a lot of liberal Christian friends that are good people that don't buy into all the control aspects of their religion. So there's plenty of liberal Catholics that look at the Pope and go, "Yeah, I'm not going to let some Italian bachelor from Chicago tell me what to do in my bedroom." It's like, yeah, it's really a part of the con is that you're a better moral person. Like, yeah, Rimmer's pointing it out. Like, it is much better. Really is part of the con. So yes, yeah, religion does become hateful, especially if you don't follow their religion. That's pretty much obvious. I think the Abrahamic ones are the worst, but there's good people in them. It's just when religion kind of messes with your brain, it starts to make you think you're superior. It's a real ego trip when you really think about it. So, yes, give me your money and your children. Yes. And religion does this. I used to do it. I was a Christian education pastor for years and for a couple of years. And like, that's what we focused on was kids. We focused on kids and we made a big deal of it to a point where it became part of the offering spiel. Like, we have all these great children's ministries that we're running and they need your support. And there's a spiel at every offering time during the service too. So um, Christians, people that are in the know, that are leaders, know that they have to go after kids and they have to go after money. And this is the way it works. It's like, yeah. So yeah, but I just don't, the exploitation of vulnerable people, not just the poor, but people that are psychologically vulnerable is definitely there too. So, but I just, I had, I have an insider's view of this, okay, because I used to do the indoctrination. So I have an understanding. I don't, I get it. Like, this is why they go after your kids, because if you try to go after adults are very difficult, okay, to win over to your religion unless they're in the middle of a crisis. Like, that's the other group of people. You go after kids and you go after people in a vulnerable state. And they will literally tell you this. Like, when I did my evangelism classes back at Trinity, one of the things that they said to look for somebody that's having a personal crisis. And then they are much more open to accepting your message, that you can give them the hope of Jesus when they're at their most low time. And what it really is you're hitting somebody who isn't really thinking all that clearly, and then they'll buy any bullshit that you sell them at that point just to feel better. And so if you give them religion as the drug and the drug makes them feel better, they'll believe it. So it's kind of the way it was. By preaching softness, even if their narrative device, they knew it even then. Atheists, because I can clearly see the damage it does to human society. If you want to live a fantasy, foolish but fine, hurt others and I'm out. The more liberal Christians don't seem to have a large platform. Maybe it will change. I think the problem is right now, Richard, is the guys with the conservative edge are shouting louder. And liberal Christians, by their nature, tend to be more passive and they tend to be more compassionate and empathic. And so they're not really interested in a fight. Okay, so it's not so much they don't have a large platform. It's just most of them that I meet and pal around with over the years have been more interested in doing good than they are being right. And that's a big difference. So like helping out, they get very laid back and they're just trying to help and be better people. And that's a very different mentality than the fundy who is like trying to press his religion on you. So and yeah, it does make a lot of us grumpy. So Grumpy Fangs comes out. But yeah, just I'm at that stage of life where I run this channel because I do my streams because I'm trying to help people get over this stuff. I don't think the fantasy helps. Okay, I don't think unless you're making fun of it like I do. I don't think the fantasy helps people. I don't think it does. So. Yeah, they don't laid back people don't like liberal laid back people with religion don't have a reason to platform their faith. Like they're not trying to take over the world, Yeah, there are definitely people that are more accepted. But if you go to a fundy church, you're not going to be accepted there, Richard. Still to this day. And my problem, like right now, is that's being weaponized. Like it's okay to do that. Yeah, there's some truth to this too. Fred points out, like liberal Christians, a flock of sheep that fundamentalists feed off of. There's fundamentalists like to point to the liberal Christian as their standard of morality. Like this is the good things that people do in society, but like you're a fundy and you're not doing it. But yes, but liberal Christian denominations like the Methodists and others are very accepting of LGBTQ people. So these days, so and they're getting flack from it by other Christians. Like I sense a lot of Christian on Christian verbal bashing that's been going on forever. So, and it can be like mafia wise. I get what you're saying. Like because they don't do anything to stop the fundies or say anything about them, they kind of let them go. I feel the same way about like most liberals in most religions. Like Islam's the same way. You have all these very peaceful, normal Islamic people, but they don't call out the Islamic people that are, doing their thing, being very violent and aggressive, and so they kind of just let them go. So it's kind of like an enabling, like you're not doing anything to stop it when you could, because you're too laid back and you're just too reserved about it. So it just flourishes. But then again, human behavior is just a fascinating thing when it comes to making decisions and movements and political groups. And I don't know. I guess we're going to see if the wave of energy behind fundy Christianity is going to crash on the rocks of other people that are like, no, we're not going to do that anymore. So we'll see. It depends on what kind of inertia the future has. But yes, the fundy Christians just bother me these days because they feel very empowered. I guess the good news is the religious survey didn't change. Like people aren't getting more religious in the United States. It's still going the other direction. And so I don't know what this round of conservatism is. It seems like the conservatives, because they're losing force, they banded together stronger to maintain their base, and they're doing things more and more together. And maybe there's a key there for the liberals to follow. of how to do it. Like you got to put aside some of the petty disagreements to move forward. And the conservatives in my country are doing a better job of that than the liberals right now. So that's just a tactical analysis. So yes, the base does do that. You say prayers to ask God. The other people saying a prayer to humble an unbeliever. Yes. Yeah, everybody is kind of trying to humble the unbeliever, isn't it? Yes, yeah, you're feeling me, aren't you, Blossom? Because it's like there's so much petty little bullshit on the liberal side of the aisle, like, and it's really the curse of the smalls because it's like you have all this agreement that a lot of liberals and even libertarians on the social side would agree with them. Like I'm a libertarian, but because of my stance on a few issues, I can't be part of the club and they don't like me. Okay. Um, and so, but I could march lockstep with them on 85% of the issues and we could make good progress there. But we got to always have this petty bullshit that divides us. It's like, come on, Yeah, I mean, and Richard, you're going to have that. There are a lot of peaceful Muslims. Okay, it's just that the fundies kind of give them a bad name, and then they don't do anything about the fundies. So, but it's the same in Christianity. It's the same in Judaism. Like the Abrahamic religions have that in spades. Like they have their liberal adherents that are really trying to understand their faith as a personal thing, and then there's the rest of them that are trying to push it on other people, and that's the problem. Yeah, yeah, it's you're probably right about that, Blossom. Like we have a group now that has found a way to be very disagreeable, lack empathy and all that stuff, but we can't seem to find a way to unite. And it's strange to me, Blossom, because liberals should have a better philosophy about uniting based on love and empathy and doing better things for the rest of humanity. But they can't seem to get over the petty bullshit. Okay, like you know it's just sad to me, Blossom. It's just sad, and they got to do something soon. In the United States, we got an election year next year. The midterms are coming. It would really be a good thing if, like, the Democrats got some gridlock. Like, I think the best they can hope for is gridlock and take the House, take the Senate, take both, and then now we have a situation where you have some political power to fight with. And right now we just don't have you don't have that. The Democrats and liberals just don't have it. And it's because they're still not being introspective enough and going, you know what, there are certain things that are key and core to being a liberal, and the rest of it we can allow disagreement. They don't seem to have that ability, and that's what's killing them right now. Okay. It's just killing them. And it's sad to watch. It's really sad to watch. And this is also another weakness of the two-party system, because what happens when one of the parties becomes completely inept? Like, and it's making them inept. Like they can't get anything done. And it really bothers me. Okay, Kirk's assailant was a Mormon. Incident in Michigan. My God is better than your God. It's possible. Isn't the guy that did the Michigan shooting, wasn't they also religious? Like Trump came out, oh, there's a war on Christianity. And I'm like, I'll bet dollars to, you know, the microphone in front of me that this person was probably another religious person, like, and probably a form of Christianity that didn't like the Mormons. So, I mean, are we, because a Mormon killed Charlie Kirk, are we going to see a lot of anti-Mormon stances by other Christian groups? I mean, that's far more likely than some liberal doing this. So I haven't heard what that person. I hope it is too, Richard. I as a libertarian, I like gridlock. I like it when they have to work together instead of fight each other. When they are forced into a situation of, if we're going to get something done, it has to be something we agree on. That's a much better state for the government, in my opinion, where you have multiple opinions that have to be appeased. It keeps government from doing a bunch of bullshit that they don't need to be doing. And I'm hoping that we at least get some gridlock out of this, so stuff gets slowed down. So, hey, Michael, good to see you, man. Oh, he said that the Mormons are antichrist. So if that's his statement, then okay, he's a believer because he believes in the antichrist. I'm guessing some fundy apocalyptic type mentality church at that point. That's my prediction. You can hold me to that too. But yes, I worry about the Charlie Kirk assassination from that point of view because the guy was a Mormon and he was a very conservative Mormon, and I'm wondering if there's going to be backlash attacks based on that. People get the mentality because people are crazy. So it's not a naive question. My issue with this, like if you look at other democracies blossom, they have 6 or 7 parties. Okay, and nobody can get a full grip on the whole thing. So they have to have some agreement between some of the parties. There has to be cooperation. The mentality of these nations, like when I studied Norway, Norway has like 6 parties or something, and not one of them ever like controls 50% of the thing. Like, I think it's really dangerous that we allow one political philosophy to dominate 51% of the government, because that's a dangerous position. And we're always set up for that in the United States with a 2-party system. But like Norway, you have to have 3 or 4 parties agree with each other and talk about the issues. There's at least discussion going on and cooperation. It's not a naive question. It's something that George Washington himself warned, that the 2-party system, if it was just 2 parties, it was going to be the death of the United States someday. Like, he warned of that. Like, you're going to destroy this good thing that we have by having political parties. Like George Washington, I think, is the only guy that didn't run on our political party's platform. I don't think he did. He just ran as himself. He's the only one that probably could get away with it too. So, yeah. See, hey, Dave, if you're still there, you need to like find a video of somebody who believes in the Antichrist. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that one. I think you'll have a lot of fun with that one. I may, once I get done with Paul, I'm going to find a preacher that preaches apocalyptic BS and laugh at it. So, yeah, he was against the LGBTQ rhetoric, but he was with him on a lot of other things. Yeah, it's absurd right now. And that's why the midterms need to go the Democrats' way. Not because I particularly always agree with the Democrats, but just so we get some slowdown on what one political ideology can do. Like, it's always bad when one ideology rules the roost and you don't have any counter voices. And to me, democracy is about diversity of opinion and voices, and then coming to some sort of agreement, a compromise agreement where maybe not everybody is completely happy with it, but at least it's something that goes on there. That way you can have some counterbalance to some of the ideas. Democracy doesn't really work without both free speech and cooperation. So you have to have both to really make it work. So people have to be able to comfortable. Yes, I do. I usually stream on Mondays, which is kind of a fireside chat. Thursday, I do what's called the deconversion hangout. It's mostly for people who are deconverting from their faith, like myself and many others that you see in chat. We like to talk about it. It's kind of a support group for us. A lot of us miss our churches because we don't believe anymore. And so we've kind of created a community on Thursdays to do that. And then Saturday, I'm usually reacting to some sort of video at 7:00. It's all Eastern Standard Time, United States time. So it's 6:00 on Mondays. I sometimes do the stream on Tuesday if something comes up on Monday or there's a holiday or something. Last week I got sick on Monday, so I couldn't do the stream, so I did it Tuesday. So, but yes, do have a regular. So you'll see my streams pop up probably a day before, sometimes the same day, really when I have time. So, in government, but the 3 in government blend on everything so they can be in power. Okay. Yeah, see, that's the kind of thing though, but that's at least superior to a two-party system in the sense that you have those three parties have to kind of come to some sort of agreement with each other instead of fighting each other. Like the two-party system gets really bad when one party controls everything. Like I would say that when the Democrats control everything, that's bad too, because then they tend to push things without counterbalance too. So yeah, it's like that. It wasn't Israel. Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah, but thanks for being new to the channel. Yeah, just kind of hang out. You think Trump's the Antichrist? Okay. Yeah. I don't know. He would fit. Um, he would fit. I would. There are a lot of preachers actually that believe that are preaching that Trump is the Antichrist because he's too accepted by the elect. So there's that theology rolling out there. I've seen that. Take note of it, can cost you nothing. That way, less likely to miss out. Okay, so they have to candor votes in government because support votes from the biggest one. Yes. Okay, so you gotta. That's a system with a different. It's a different style of problem, but it's still a problem. I would agree with you. Like it's the problem with political parties. You really can't kind of control how many you get in your country. I just baffled that in America we have. And then I studied it and I realized that those two parties work very hard to keep themselves in control and don't allow too many others to come in my country. So I think I've given the example of local elections. Like if I wanted to run for county commissioner as an independent, I have to get like 40 signatures. If I wanted to run a county commissioner as a Republican or Democrat, I only need one. That is the literal rules in Michigan for running for county commissioners. And I'm like, are you serious? So, yeah, well, we can always make jokes about Trump. I make jokes about Biden when he was in office too. I'm a libertarian. I don't like anybody. Nobody's perfect, and nobody's going to do governing perfectly. So that's kind of the way it works for me. So, all right, I want to leave you all with this picture by the lovely I Killed Earl, where she put everything together. These are hilarious. Some of you are in here, but you are now droids. So, but yes, me and Paula Gia making our stand against Habermas. So, so there's that. But yes, some of you are now droids in here. See if you can find yourself. Watch the tape later. Here, I'll even pull myself out of the picture so you can see this even better. But yes, when I saw this, there's just so much here, folks. There's just so much here. Come back to the video, pause it here, and just look at it and get a screenshot or whatever. But yes, there's so much here, so much here. But yes. But often it means a small party gets disproportionate power. It might not necessarily be a bad thing sometimes, but I can see why there would be concern. Yep. But yeah, there you go. But yes, I'm writing a script right now about the minimal witness, the minimal facts theory, and why I don't buy it. So that may come out. I'm going to have a goal of having that video be my first video back and have it out on Friday officially. Although for you members, you'll get that early at some point when I finish it. So, but that's my first video, hopefully when I come back. And so there's that. So, hey, Dave, thanks for stopping by, man. Yeah. So thank you very much. I hope you're doing better. Okay. I really do. I know we don't pray for each other here. We don't do that, but my empathy, my humanity goes out to you. I really want you to understand that. Like this stuff is not fun, and I want you to be better. I do, but we are getting older, as you said. So there's that. Oh, thanks, Richard. I appreciate that. Yeah, it goes a long way to help me keep doing what I do. So hopefully you enjoy the streams, and hopefully I get back to video production here very soon. So there's that. You're doing well? Okay, good. Good. I'm glad to hear that. That's good news. We don't prey on each other either. All right, folks. Well, I have got to call it a night, guys. I got to go get ready and go to work and work away through the night, being my vampire self. So I will have to let all of you go so I can go do that. I need to get something to eat and get ready for work and all that jazz. So thank you, everybody, for stopping by. I appreciate all of you. May our lovable, imaginary atheist deity Fangs nibble on all of your hearts. May he purify your vegetables from religious corruption. Make sure you leave a carrot out for him. Make sure you circumcise it before you do, and he will thank that. So, but thanks, everybody, for being here. Thanks, everybody, for having a really good chat tonight. It was good stuff tonight, so appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Nom nom and all of that stuff. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So you want to take all your time, your money, your opportunities and spend them on yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. And don't waste them on the trappings of religion and faith, because that's a dead end. I speak from experience. And as always, folks, thanks for stopping by. And I will catch all of you next time on Thursday for Deconversion Hangout.
It's time to take a stand.